everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show, and today we got a little bit of a surprise for you. I was talking to some friends of mine, and they found that they got a document to exempt you from wearing a mask. Now, this applies to Canadians. I don't know if this document would apply to Americans, or anybody else, but I'm sure if there's an exemption form in your respective countries, you may want to look it up. Just a thought. It seems to me that I got a couple links up, a PDF link, and one PDF link shows a mask. It's what they used to put on slaves. Imagine that, putting a mask on a slave. Because basically a slave was meant to be seen and not heard. Now, all this COVID bullshit that they have been propagating is pure bullshit. And we got an idiot doctor in Windsor, Ontario. Obviously doesn't understand virology. Obviously he's incompetent. He's not really quantified or qualified to even be a doctor. As I understood, the coronavirus, the corona boogeyman, oh, he's coming to get you. Viruses die when temperatures reach and exceed 80 degrees, and sunshine kills viruses. So if this is the case, then what's going on in Florida and Texas? You know what's ironic? What's really, really ironic is the fact that every time a state opened up, the media, which is controlled by Soros and Zionists and Jesuits and Freemasons and Rothschilds and everybody under the sun, the moment somebody opened up, all of a sudden, automatically, not even in a day's time, not even in a couple hours after they've opened up, all of a sudden we have a new number of COVID infected people. But you know what else is also interesting? I find that when you go to the hospitals to see if these numbers are even valid, guess what? There's nobody there. So who's pulling out these numbers? What numbers are they grabbing it from? See, if Florida's at 80 and 90 degrees, there's no virus going to happen there. And Texas is hotter than hell. I've been to Texas. And at this time of the year, you're sweating buckets because it's so hot and humid. And I live in Windsor, Ontario. We are in the sunniest and warmest, one of the sunniest and warmest spots in Canada. If you drew a line from Windsor, Ontario, we're south of Detroit, and you ran it westward, we'd be right where Northern California is. That's how far south we go into America. So our temperatures are hot in the summer months. And now, as we get closer to July, the middle of July and the first part of August, it gets to be incredibly uncomfortable in this part of the world at that time of the year because of the heat factor. Now, we've already had 90-degree weather for the last probably last week and a half. So if there was any virus in the area, it'd be dead. Dead. Dun da da, 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 dead. So why are we wearing these masks? Because they symbolize slavery. And who's enslaving us? Think about that for a minute. Who's putting the muzzle on mankind? Who's putting the muzzle on all of us to subjugate us to whatever bullshit's going on? The millennials are so effing stupid. I've never seen a group of dumbasses in my entire life. They will follow whatever their cell phone tells them. And if the cell phone tells them there's a boogeyman out there that doesn't exist, they will believe it. Now, I gotta say this on behalf of the millennials, though. This all goes back to Santa Claus. This all goes back to the fairy godmother with the tooth fairy. When I was a parent, when I was a younger man, and I had children, I made it a point I wasn't going to lie to them about anything, including Santa Claus. And one day we're at the grandparents on my ex-wife's side, and they started off saying, giving thanks to Santa Claus. Says, no, we're not Santa Claus. F Santa Claus. Santa Claus did not bust his ass in a factory. Santa Claus did not have to sweat 40 and 50 hours a week to make the money required to buy the gifts that was bought. Let's thank Grandma and Granddad. That's the ones who had to sacrifice. That's the ones who had to get, work their ass off to get these gifts. And that's the way it was. I never bullshitted my kids on anything. They saw the reality of life. I wanted to make sure that everything was real with them. There was no Easter Bunny bullshit. There was no Tooth Fairy. None of that crap. Anyway, but not everybody did that. And a lot of people told their kids that Santa Claus was coming into town. You better be good, or if you're bad, Santa Claus isn't going to do anything for you, blah, blah, blah. Because of these kind of fantasy situations, we've got several generations of people that believed in this bullshit. It's all bullshit. And instead of the grandchildren or the children giving thanks to the ones who did the actual sacrificing to give them those gifts, what wound up happening was some mythical, satanic, symbolic entity was getting praised for something it didn't do. Now today, after generations of this kind of bullshit, we got a generation of millennials that now don't know reality from fantasy. They don't know reality from fairy tales. What they know is nonsense, pure and simple. Now, most of us who are in in the age era, in the era, the time that we came out of, those of us in their 60s and late 50s, early 60s, mid 60s, whatever, 70s and 80s. We've been through the fire. We've been through the ringer. They've done everything they could to us to mind control us, brainwash us, bullshit us, lie to us, deceive us, maneuver us, manipulate us, exploit us, experiment on us. We should be hopping pissed for all that's been done to us. The maneuvering, the manipulations, the whole context of life being a lie. Like I said, what they did to us starting in the 50s with the think tanks and the 60s by enacting the mind control programs that they were doing through the media and through all kinds of things. We look back and say those were simpler times. They really weren't simpler times. There were complex events that were going on in those times, but we weren't as overwhelmed as the generation today is dealing with. There's no joy in living today. There really isn't. When I look back, there wasn't a whole lot of joy either, but we did at least get to experience things like intimacy, things like connections, things like friendships, things that were important. Having some kind of social web or connections with people that were solid and good. They don't have that today. They're completely dysfunctional in regard to that. And if they do associate with each other, it's very superficial. And that was going on too in the past too. Superficiality was always, there as well. But when you made friends, you bonded with these people that you made friends with, until you either moved on or they moved on or whatever. So today it's really a disaster. It really is. It's a fragmented system we have. We have people that have no clue what it means to really be connected to each other. Other than through a phone, obviously. You can connect through a phone. And they fragmented us so that we became loners, or we became isolationists, or we became people that could take it or leave it. Now we got a generation of millennials that are extremely superficial. They'll use each other like a whore. and then kick each other to the curb. It's just the way things are done today. It's just how it works. And this is the bulk of these millennials. So these are the ones that they've got maneuvered and manipulated and deceived. These are the ones that come along and say, here's a new toy. Here's some new candy. Look at the new phone. Look at the little bells and whistles this can do. You got to get that phone. All your friends will have that phone. You won't be able to communicate like the rest of them because this phone will give you some special connection or some special feature. And they run and buy it. To this day, I don't own a cell phone. Don't want one. It's interesting because I got a lot of friends from all over. It's really cool. And they all send me information, and they all show me stuff, and they all find things, And then, another one. I'll get to all these things as I go on. Africa. First vaccinations begin in Africa for COVID-19 trial. Now, this might be a little dated, but think about this for a minute. How did Africa become the pincushion of the Bill Gates Foundation, of the medical foundation, of the pharmaceutical industry? How did they wind up becoming the pincushion? How is it we're going now to Africa? And we're going to now experiment with a trial vaccine on Africans. I wonder if the same thing is going on in Canada right now with the native population on the reserves. I just found out today, I knew there was some blockages going on in Saskatchewan, but I found out here not too far away from me, about 45 minutes away, Chatham, Ontario, they have blocked off the reservations there as well. See, I've seen natives in this country abused. I mean, I have seen this with my own eyes. I was actually dumbfounded when I saw what I seen going on. These people want to be left alone. They really do. They don't really want to be bothered with anybody. They have tried to integrate with people, and all they have found is grief for their trouble. So they associate with themselves, and they are to themselves for the most part. Some of them will step out and venture and make friends or whatever, but they know that if they venture out too far, too long, they may wind up having problems. And this has been the case now with the reservations. Nobody knows what goes on those reserves, do we? We don't know what experimentation is going on there. We don't know what vaccines have been put in their water supply. We don't know what vaccines may have been put in their food supply. We don't even know what vaccines may have been given to them in their drug supply. The illegal stuff. So Africa has become the pincushion of the global regime, the WHO, the pharmaceutical industries. Imagine that, eh? Imagine that. Now, I had read somewhere else that the 20% of the people that they had vaccinated with this trial vaccine died. Imagine that. Imagine somebody stupid enough to volunteer. That's the mind-boggling thing there. Oh yeah, come on down. Yeah, stick that shit in me. I want to be the first to. Oh yeah. Probably took their DNA and applied it to the AI. It's funny. I shouldn't say funny. It's not really funny. But this is the mindset and the mentality that we're dealing with today. This is what's going on. So imagine that. The first vaccinations begin in Africa for COVID-19 trial. I don't think these are the first vaccines, quite frankly. I think they've been going on in China and other parts of the world, even here in Canada. But if we believe the media, if we believe the television, which never lies, which always tells us the truth, has always protected us from those evil political agendas that have been trying to manipulate us. They've always done that. They've always told us the truth, right? I can think of a few wars where propaganda was used to prop up the war. I can even think of some instances where the media was used to prop up a politician so they could win an election. You ever notice that any serious challenge to the status quo for a diverse, robust conversation that challenge the status quo, that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all the rest decide to shut things down? Notice that? Now, I have tried to figure this out for myself, and I've wondered, if you have a healthy debate about what's really going on, and you can have both sides of the coin, then eventually you'll come to the truth. Now, maybe they don't want you to know the truth. Or maybe you might even come to an agreeable situation. But what winds up happening is everything you see, and you'll see this time and time again, all you're going to see is the scary mythos that they've got. Oh, COVID, we have a new outbreak of COVID today. We got 99 gazillion, billion COVID cases today because a city in Florida opened up. Oh, we have another outbreak today in Texas because another 99 gazillion, billion people have COVID now because we opened up. Oh, wait, Nevada opened up today, and we got another 90. And it's always the same bullshit. The moment any place in America or Canada will open up, you can bet your ass that somebody is going to come up with these fantastic numbers showing the fear of COVID. You're going to die. Oh, and then what happens is these morons will fall for this bullshit day in and day out. And then will try to force you to wear a mask when you want to go into the store. And I talked to a lot of people today. I had a lot of people come to my store today, and I told them you don't have to wear a mask, you don't have to wear gloves. It says you don't have to wear a hand condom, you don't have to wear it, and they thanked me. I said, if this virus is even real, because we still don't have anything to validate that this is even real. All it could be is a cold, or you know what else? It doesn't even have to be a virus. See, this is something everyone's still fixated on with the television. It doesn't even have to be a virus. All that shit that they've been dumping up in the atmosphere for all these decades is probably starting to come down. And as a result of it coming down, okay, we're breathing that crap in, and people are getting sick from what I call either a mimetic or nano poisoning. That's what I'm thinking. Even the very first corona that I saw at the beginning 5-6 months ago, I stated on one of the shows that was a synthetic biology, and I still hold true to that. I don't believe what we're told. This is nothing more than a mimetic. A mimetic is something that can mimic something else, can copy, can act, can function just like something else. In other words, I can design a virus to, say, function like a coronavirus, have the same symptomologies like a coronavirus, but it's a synthetic biology. It's a combination of carbon C60 and silica and protein mixed with some kind of DNA sequence. So this can be done. This is a reality today. So I don't even believe like I told you, I don't believe shit that the television tells me. I don't believe nothing it tells me. Zero. Because I know it tells me the truth. I know it will always tell me, it will never lie to me. It will always tell me. This is why I don't believe television. And that may sound a little sarcastic, because it is. As long as I've been alive, television is the weapon of mass destruction. It always has been the weapon of mass destruction, and you know what? It's never going to stop. And as long as you follow the media, they will always, always take you down to the path of the abyss. Always. All the things they told us, all these truisms that they gave us, turned always out to work against us. The military-industrial complex in the world today has, by design, assaulted the citizenry of the planet. The citizenry has been considered the enemy. I was listening to another program, another guy, and this was when Obama was in office, and this was a colored guy using the N-word. He said, it's not the guns that are the problem. He said it's the end that's the problem. And Obama should ban the end. And that's how he said it. And again, I'm not a racist, so I mean, I'm just quoting what this man said. And if you interpret me as being a racist, oh well, too bad, so sad. But this is what this guy was saying, and he made a point. He made a distinct point, and I think everybody needs to understand this point. He made a point that there are a lot of good colored people out there, a lot of good people. But what happens is the media always shows you the end people, the people that got the guns, the thugs, the ones that ain't got no education, and even the colored people in those communities are afraid of them. He said it himself. He says when they come into the elevator, he walks out because he's afraid of what they're going to do. He said they have no hesitation in killing anybody. Well, that is something to be afraid of. And again, the skin color doesn't have anything to do with it, really. There are a lot of people of different skin tones that are just like that. But he made it a point that there is a distinction. And there are some really good... And I grew up in a colored neighborhood. I was a minority among the minorities. I never really ever had a problem, to be honest with you. Unless you had an attitude and you were condescending, then you got your backside handed to you. But... sometimes you had situations that could occur, but a lot of times once you got past the emotional 2 minutes, you could talk it out. Generally speaking, nobody really wanted to get into a fight, especially if you're in the same neighborhood. If somebody came from another neighborhood, it might have been a different story. But that same neighborhood, you might say speak strongly, but it would eventually pass. Point is, if we're looking at stuff like that and saying that there's a distinction between the troublemakers and then there's colored people that are trying to better their lives, educate themselves, and become more evolved. These are people you want to associate with, right? But there is a distinction. Well, the same thing with this corona crap. It's a little flu that could barely cause any problems, has a high remote chance of killing anybody, dies when temperatures are up above 80 degrees, and now you have the medical staff or the medical establishment wanting you to wear a mask. You got businesses that are saying they want you to wear a mask. You know what? Boycott those businesses. Let them drop. Let them lose everything. Don't shop them. Don't support them. Nothing. Because this was how you have to understand the nature of things. If a mask is a muzzle, and if a mask is an indication of you being enslaved and that you're not to be heard, why would you want to even consider that? Why would you even put the bloody thing on, number one? Number two, if the small businesses start seeing that nobody's showing up at their door because you've got to wear a mask, they are now going to go to their authorities, the higher authorities, and say, you got to do something about removing that law, rescind that law, like they did in Orange County. Since there's no facts to validate the corona or COVID, whatever we want to call it today, which are two different things in my humble estimation, if there is no facts to validate this, then why all the bullshit about wearing a mask, gloves, and all this stuff? 3, we are in our summer months where I'm at. If you're outside, the sun and the heat will kill just about any of these pathologies that they're talking about, if it's a pathology. If it's a pathology. If it's a mimetic, no, it won't kill it. But the air, the sunshine, and the warm air will help at least charge your body up so it can fight whatever you're dealing with. 4, wearing the mask has been proven they do absolutely nothing. So tonight, what I did was I put up there a what do you call that? Let me take a look. An exemption form. For those of us in Canada, share this exemption form with everybody. Carry this with you whatever store you go into. This will put the boots to some things. Now in America, you guys need to do the same thing. Find out if you have an exemption form in your state and carry it with you wherever you go. So if you need something from a store, then they cannot stop you from going in. Say you gotta play the game, right? This is a silly game. Just be aware. Just be aware that this is not going to stop. They're not planning on having anybody. They're not planning on reopening things and getting things back in normal. I mean, even our Prime Minister here in Canada has been saying things will not go back to normal until you get a vaccine. You know what? He needs to be removed from Parliament. We either need to impeach him or elect his ass out. Who in the bloody hell is this guy to tell the general population? He's not even a doctor. And that shit he's listening to isn't one either, as far as I'm concerned. So he's not a doctor. He can't dictate any kind of medical policy whatsoever. He shouldn't be anyway. He's not qualified. You know, he can't even run the government of Canada. I mean, he got caught in Quebec dipping his hand in the cookie jar and getting bribes. He destroyed took the money from Alberta. Again, whatever monies that were there designated for oil project, he did that. He destroyed their economy, and now we got a guy there in Alberta, now has taken over Alberta, and now is writing laws left, right, and center. That's got to stop. You know, we do not have strong leadership in the political arena. In the political arena, they're all whores. Every one of them. They're all whores. If you got the money, you can buy these guys. That's the way they are. And when they get in office, now they have to follow the protocol that they've been given to follow, because whoever put them in power bought and paid for them. So leadership is going to have to come from you as a person. And you're going to have to say, no, look, this is the thing that alarms me. Eventually, we're going to see food shortages. We're going to see power outages. We're going to see all these things that they're going to manipulate to break the people down. And a majority of them are going to break down. At least 85% are going to break down. At least 85%. The other 15% will have grown some testosterone and said, you know what, we don't need this shit. I got to tell you something, when they initiated the shutdown, you know, or rendering essential services, they actually saved me money. They actually saved me money. So they really worked on my behalf. But I mean, I was still doing my thing. But and my doors were open to everybody, and I wasn't restricting anybody. But there are stores out there in the United States, like Michigan. Michigan is, I mean, it's such a backward state. Holy crap! It's so effing backward. And they got a governor there just as retarded. She's something out of a I don't know, genetic lab. I think she's so bloody stupid. See, America, it's a different ball game. It's all both sides, Canada and the United States. It's all about politics and kissing the pharmaceuticals. Ass, basically. See, these masks don't do a damn thing. None of them do anything. Zero. Except making parliamentarians, congressmen, House of Representatives rich. Because they get paid to enact these laws, to enforce them on the general population, so they make money. And the manufacturing companies that manufacture these products, the masks and the hand condoms, are making money now because they have regulated that into everybody's life, and there's absolutely no reason for it. That's who's making money. That's who's causing all the corruption. That's who's creating all these laws. That's the ones that are trying to keep you, in the dark. They're not going to let us go until a vaccine comes, which won't be for another 2 to 5 years. And if it comes in 2 years, I wouldn't take that vaccine. It ain't ready. And the media is going to blast it with some sensational shit. Oh, we finally got the COVID-19. We got the vaccine. We got the vaccine. You got to just go get your vaccine. And when you go get your vaccine, you'll be dipped, stripped, and chipped like a dog. And they'll tell you, and they'll say to you, everybody, oh, you can go to the mall again. You can go shopping at the mall. You can go to the restaurant. You don't have to do any social distancing. You're now all protected. Oh, yeah, we got you. You know, you're good. We know you got your vaccine. We can see the chip on you. Or you can see we'll see that chip that we put inside you. And then one by one, the health issues will start to deteriorate at an exceptionally fast rate. Cancers will be off the chart. Immune systems, autoimmune disorders will be off the chart. Organ failure will be off the chart. All these gloves and all these masks are doing that right now. They're causing people to have undue duress and stress on the respiratory system, on the heart, on the central nervous system, on the brain, on the thymus, on the mouth. The cancers are going to be exponential within the next 2 to 5 years. Guaranteed. You can't breathe in these harmful gases and solvents and not expect some kind of damage to the respiratory system. See, what this also does, and I got to point this out because I talk about nano. See, a lot of things that you breathe in that are nano translocate through the lung tissue. Now, if you put a solvent in the lung tissue, you'll spread the nanoparticles even faster and more readily through the tissue because you've broken down the protective barrier in the lung. Now you go into a grocery store and they're using chlorine. Now you got chlorine gas in the air and you got that mask on. Now you got chlorine as another chemical that you're breathing in through the mask, which is also a chlorine gas. It's brutal on the respiratory system. Then they're adding alcohol with some of the places you go to. That's a solvent. That too will penetrate and permeate as a gaseous material, which would then make the other chemical components in the mask that much more lethal to the respiratory system. And this will translocate also into beyond the blood-brain barrier, beyond your organs, beyond your tissues, beyond your glands. And for what? And for what? The medical people are going to make the biggest buck here, and all the people that the medical people have bought and paid for are going to make the big buck here. They're the ones that are going to make money. You'll be dead, they'll be wealthy, they'll take your DNA and they'll hook it up to the artificial intelligence. So now the operating system that requires DNA will have fresh DNA and you'll be the one provided. Sounds like a sci-fi horror movie, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it isn't sci-fi anymore. Okay, it's the real deal. So, pay attention. Now, here's another one. We talk about contact tracking bullshit. Iran, Kuwait, Norway contact tracking apps among the most dangerous for privacy. Can you imagine that? Them putting shit on your phone so they can track you and can access anything about you through this contact application. Imagine that. I'd get rid of the phone. Seriously, this is another thing that you have to seriously think and wonder, what do you need it for? Why do you need something that's going to track you everywhere you go? Why do you need something that's going to monitor everything you're doing? This is not a utility that is there for your protection or for your help. The only thing I think a cell phone is good for, to be honest with you, if you're traveling, you don't need a fancy phone. You just need one of those throwaway phones that you can pop open the thing. It's a 2G setup. Not even with texting, just a phone. So if you break down on the highway, you can then call somebody for help. Pick you up, pick up the car, do whatever. You know what I mean? So it's important that you understand that everything is out to take you out. Technology is not our friend. Never was, never will be. It's just there to screw you over some way, somewhere, somehow. And imagine you're talking with your friends and you're not social distancing, and all of a sudden the contact phone application says that you're not social distancing. And you get maybe a text on your email saying, we noticed that you weren't social distancing. It's like, who the hell are you? Mark my words, everything you're saying on those cell phones are recorded, and they will use whatever they want, whenever they feel like it, to incriminate you. That's why I don't own a cell phone. I don't want one, not looking to get one, and you know what? I've been functioning fine without it. I don't need to be tied to a cell phone, and nobody else needs to too. This is another tether. The mask is a muzzle to keep you quiet as a slave, so slaves are seen and not heard. And now this is monitoring everything you're doing. Hey, so-and-so went to the washroom. He spent about 10 minutes in there. What was he doing? Oh, Jane went into the washroom. She spent 20 minutes. I wonder what she was doing. You know what I mean? Oh, Jane is talking to Mary and Suzanne. And I don't know, Carisha or whatever. What are they talking about? Let's zero in on their conversation. You know, Joe, Bob, and Jim are gathering together. Oh, they're not social distancing here. Let's see what they got to say. This is real today. This is not a James Bond sci-fi. This is real. You know, everyone's still talking 5G. You better start talking 6G, because when they start opening up these frequencies, it's going to be 6G that's going to be taking you out. And that phone will be it will be a targeting monitor. Oh, there's so-and-so right there. Bing. Everybody will be social distancing then. All of a sudden you see Joe falling on the ground shaking like a leaf because he got zapped with a high-powered frequency. Because his phone selected him and showed them where he was. Like they did in China. China, they were dropping left, right, and center. And that wasn't 5G. That was 6G. Mitochondrial damage was what that was, but then they told you, oh, it was a snake, or it was a bat, or it was a bad batch of some whatever. Something came out of a market. I mean, the bullshit was unbelievable. And if they've been bullshitting us on all of this to date, viruses die at 80 degrees, and why are we wearing a mask? Why are the health advisors in each city saying, you must wear a mask? It is a mandate. Mandates are not laws. They're policies. That's it. That's it. And no mayor would be stupid enough, especially in this heat, to try to pass that kind of law. If they did, they might have people storm their whole setup. Because if you force something like this, businesses will shut down. Guaranteed. And areas like mine, which are already depressed very heavily, okay, once those businesses go, they're not coming back. You know, and in fact, a lot of people may even leave the region and move somewhere else to try to start it somewhere else. Or there'll be an underground economy, one or the other. You know, that's a reality. And in fact, an underground economy, you can do pretty well if you know what you're doing. So it's not that difficult. So like I said, this is going to be a handcuffing event. It really is. And a lot of people who are not going to wear these masks ever, they're basically going to form their own perfect union. That's what's going to happen. New communities will come from this, which I think is more than welcomed. Because everybody that sees what's going on is tired of this bullshit. This is a satanic abyss waiting to consume everybody. That's all this is. And most people are saying, you know what? And a lot of people I talk to who are awake are saying this. There's a lot of people who aren't awake, don't want to wake up. When they play the game, they want to get to their shopping mall. This is the highlight of their life, going shopping at a mall. So they'll take the chip or they take the vaccine. A lot of them we're seeing are going to jump over the cliff. What a lot of us are saying is, we are not jumping with you. We'll sever that tether. You want to jump over the cliff, you want to jump into the abyss because you don't want to take a stand because you're afraid or whatever the reason may be, or you don't believe, jump, baby. Jump high, jump fast, take a running leap. Because when you hit the ground, all you're going to hear is splat. And the next one will jump, and all you'll hear is splat. So like I said, here you are with these contact tracking apps, and you could lose everything with those tracking apps, just so that you understand they're not there for your benefit. They really aren't. I was talking to somebody in the UK. We've been communicating back and forth, and he decided that he was going to start something. So I got a link on what he did with his backyard, and how he converted it to something so that he'll have a food supply. Because I've been telling you, stock up on your food, stock up on, get canned goods, get dried meat, get dried eggs, get dried gelatin, get dried milk, canned potato. Come fall, we're going to see a lot of food disappear. And come middle of winter, we may have a power outage. You never know. So, you might want to understand the need to prepare for what's coming. Anyway, he did a real fine job. He's out of the UK. I asked if I could share his video. He said yes. So that's also on tonight's podcast. So you can go to the pod and click on the YouTube. There's a lot of good stuff there as well. On the whole show and whatnot. So check it out. I had another one. Hold on. Is that it? Nope. That ain't it. Second. Oh, I lost it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. There was an interview I did with somebody, and I'm going to see if I can find it. Not sure what happened to it. Anyway, I did an interview with somebody on the weekend, and no, that ain't it. Give me a minute. I'll try to find it while I'm talking to everybody. I don't know what happened to it. It disappeared. Let me see here. Unless it's still here. Hold on. No, that's the first season. Bahrain. Oh, great. Huh. It went poof. Well, here it is. I think this is it. Let me give you a minute. No, that's something else. Huh. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can find this interview while I keep talking. We did it over the weekend. A friend of mine wanted to get more active, so he asked me if I would, talk on the, is that it? On the, no, crap. On the, do an interview with her. And I said, yes, we would. We'd get to it. So, hold on. Let me see here. Yeah, it's funny how these things all of a sudden disappear when you, when you need them. And I don't know where the hell it went. Wait, maybe this is it. Hold on. Well, actually, you know what? I probably have it on my list. Give me a second. I was trying to find it the old-fashioned way. Let me see here. Yeah, it's called Activist Truther that is sharing an idea and a prepper doing it to it. So the prepper doing it to it is out of the UK, and the other one is an activist truther that are sharing an idea. So that's there as well. We got GMO mosquitoes that they're now released. This is interesting because even Hitler would not use genetically engineered mosquitoes during the Second World War, and he had them. So what are they doing? What are they releasing now? We're looking at all kinds of different things going on. And these are things we need to be aware of. This is warfare. This is warfare on the grand scale. And you happen to be going to be the casualty of this war. All these things they're doing, all these things they're running, this is all being done as a prototype or as an experiment or as a targeting. People have been calling me up like crazy these last couple of weeks about being targeted with frequencies and, seeing the nano and all kinds of stuff happening. It seems like they're finally looking at the information and saying, you know what, here they're looking at stuff now, and I'm getting calls and emails. So, like I said, we are at war. We are at war. And they're not going to let up until they tag you. Tag and bag. That's what I call it. Tag and bag. And you're not going to be free of this as long as you stay silent. That's all I can tell you on that. If you don't say anything, if you keep your mouth shut, it is considered a form of agreement that you have agreed to whatever they're telling you they're going to do. That's an unfortunate reality, but that's the way it is. That's how it is. They are not holding back. They're not, there's no bones about whatever they're doing. They are doing it. And they're not going to stop. They're going to continue to do it. They're going to continue to do whatever they're going to do, and it's not going to stop. They're not going to let you have your shopping mall. They're not going to let you have your bars. They're not going to let you have any of that stuff. I saw somebody send me a video about people doing, they're sitting in a chair doing some kind of dancing. Normally they'd be on the dance floor. It's like, really? What's the point in going? But this is going to be the new normal, because you will always have something wrong. You'll always have some kind of virus. You're always going to have some kind of shit they're going to tell you. You know, it's not ever going to stop until we all say we have had enough of your bullshit, and we start removing these people from power through votes or through impeachments or through whatever means we can remove them and get real people in place that can do or will do what's required for the benefit of the people. This is not benefiting anybody. This is enslaving people. This is entrapping people. And again, there is no evidence whatsoever to support this COVID is still even around. They have no test. Zero. Nada. Okay? And the tests that they have had have been 80% false. Wrong. Doesn't work. What they do test for, what they can see, is that you do have a respiratory issue going on. Can they tie it to COVID? No. They can say you got COVID once they kill you with a ventilator. Yeah, this they can do. Well, he died of COVID. How did he die? Well, we had him on the ventilator and he just died of COVID. Oh, 80-year-old guy, he just died. Yeah, he died of COVID. Really? What did he die of? Oh, he was 84 years old and medication finally killed him. Oh, Granny over there, she died. She's what, 85, 90. What'd she die of? She died of COVID. How'd she die? Oh, she died in her sleep. What do you mean she died of old age? She just passed away. As George Carlin said, passed away. No, she died of COVID. Oh, young 20-year-old got hit by a car. Oh, how's he doing? He died. Oh, the car killed him? No, COVID killed him. This is how they are getting evidence. This is how they're getting the numbers. I encourage every one of you to go to a hospital. Go to the hospitals and see how many people walk in and walk out. And those who are going into the hospitals are getting tested and getting negative results. No, nothing. They don't have anything, and they put them on a ventilator, and then they die. What's on their death certificate? Oh, they died of COVID. Not of malpractice. Oh, no, the doctor never malpractice. Oh, no. Doctors infallible. They know it all. Yet they've never cured anything in the last 50 years. Can you imagine that? 60 years. They haven't cured anything. Nothing. And so this is this is astounding when you think about this. If this was a stock option in the stock market, and you had a company manufacturing or selling product, and their stocks kept going down, 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 down for 60 years, wouldn't you think that the stock market would pull the plug on that company, or the company would have collapsed? Well, the medical field is the same way. They haven't cured a damn thing. Nothing. Zero, nada, nothing. But they have come up with vaccines that have caused undue damage to people. And the CDC has put up some of the information that has been done, but a lot of that has been squelched or shut down, that you can't see the full impact of the damage that's been done by vaccines. This is horrific. And how is it that the doctors today cannot cure anything, but they can prescribe you a drug? So that kind of incompetence does not lead anyone to any assurance with the medical that we have today. It doesn't work. Hasn't worked. And yet they want to inject a vaccine into you. Yet, and they have never figured anything out. They've never got it right. Oh, they know how to cut you open and put you back together half-assed. Most of the time they do that with people today. They're never the same. Or they put all kinds of implants inside the body and the person's not even aware that these implants are even there. So here we have a system of incompetence that is beyond the scope of anybody's imagination, trying to come up with a vaccine that's supposed to protect us. Credibility is not even there. There is no credibility. Zero. Most doctors today couldn't tie their shoe with Velcro, and others can't even put their shoes on. And they're slip-on. So like I said, these are things that, for those who are awake, understand this. Those who aren't awake, or you've got friends, then you give them this, perhaps, maybe they'll start looking at some of this. That's the whole thing. That is the whole thing. You know. Like I said, it's just amazing what we're seeing today. So again, take a look at the links. I encourage you to look at the links. Download the exemption if those of you who are in Canada. You know, if those of you who are elsewhere, download the link and see if you've got something similar in your respective country, and start telling everybody about these things so that everybody can have access to do whatever. You know, I got signs on my window when you walk in that the masks are toxic. You know, Africa's banned them, Italy has banned them. Imagine that. But in America and Canada, we're still enforcing a policy that doesn't work. And how come these African countries and these Italian countries and countries in the Baltics are saying the same thing? This shit doesn't work. It's not real. It's bullshit. How is it that these countries can? And someone made another comment to me the other day. So, you know, we can go to Walmart in Canada, but you can't go to church. Imagine that. Can't go to church, but you can go to Walmart. You know what? Something's really wrong somewhere where the dollar has become more prevalent. But, you know, on the same token, though, I got to say this. Christians should have been raising their voices loud and clear to the government, saying they weren't going to stand for that. They would have still been able to go to church and have access to church, you know, because they should have. And we should be more outspoken. This was a crime against everybody. I mean, I don't care what you believe. If you don't believe in the Christian way, that's fine too. That's your call. But I mean, they have a right to. I mean, don't we have freedom of religion in the country of Canada? So if you have a belief in God, happens to be a biblical belief, and you want to go to church, but your government is telling you no, but you can go to Walmart. What is wrong with that picture? And then if you're giving other beliefs leadway and access, you know, but you're not treating everybody the same, we got a problem here with the government. We really do. And we need to be more vocal. Like I said, I personally am not a church goer. You know, I never got into the whole church message. I thought majority of the time it's just bullshit anyway. But I do read my Bible. So that I'll hold on to. You know, I don't always read it like I should, or enough as I should, but I do read it. Point I'm trying to get across here is this: our faith, irrespective of what you believe. If you want to go to temple, if you want to go to a church, a synagogue, whatever it may be, you have a right to. You should have that right to go, especially if you're in a country where they believe in the principles of freedom. We're worried about the COVID. You know what? Those of us who believe in God have this ideology that if it's my time to die, and I die in that church or I die wherever I'm going to die, it was my time to go. So the government has no business interfering with people who want to go to church, and if they die in church, it's their call. They went to church. God called them home. Nobody's going to stop death. This is the thing. Nobody's going to stop death. We're all going to die. One day. One day we are going to stand before our Maker. One day. So we're all going to die one day. Like I said, when he punches your clock, you're done. That's it. You're on your way. Till then, you're here. So, like I said, when the government is interfering with that, something should have been said in regarding to the government and saying, back off. You're infringing on my right to worship. Why are you giving this group the right to worship and you're not allowing us to have the right to worship? So something's wrong here. And the corruption goes right to the top. Always remember that, and especially in Canada. We are number 2 for corruption. India is number 1. Venezuela is number 3. America is somewhere in there. But we're ahead of America. Yay! Woo! What a thing to be ahead of, right? Something to consider. Alrighty. I'm going to wind it down. I always leave you with this parting thought. If you haven't read the Gospels, I would encourage you to go read the Gospels. See what Jesus had to say. You decide. You decide whether to accept, reject, acknowledge, learn, not learn. But take the time to read. Read what he had to say. It may be the best thing you ever read. May not. Again, it will all boil down to your choice. On my website as well, there are people there on the pod links. They are also very active. Brian 396, Sherry at 3 Churches, Johnny, myself. Numbers seem to keep on growing. So help them out any way you can, financially if you can. So if not, see if you can share their messages, share what they're doing. It would help a long way in educating and informing people. So if you can do that, that would be most appreciative. All right, until the next session, next session to your health. And remember this as well. By the grace of God, we are still here. All right, see you in the next show. Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's Show, and tonight we are going to kick ass and take no prisoners. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and guess what? I'm out of bubblegum. Big time. Anyway, I want to present something to some of you. Thought about this tonight. I was going over in my head over and over and over about that Floyd George, Black Lives Matter horse hockey that they're propagating. And it dawned on me. See, because there's a certain similarity going on right now. And I thought, I don't believe in coincidences. So, Floyd George had a police officer with his leg on his neck. And 3 other police officers are right there, not doing a damn thing about stopping this incident from happening. Now, we know that some say it might have been theatrics, so the guy's still alive, whatever. I'm not going to debate that. I'm just going to debate the scenario. I want you to pay close attention to the scenario because somebody got the wool pulled over their eyes. So you got 3 cops sitting there while one guy is executing the activity. And here you have a colored guy laying on the ground, incapacitated, not being given his rights, and basically being oppressed. Another guy yelling to the color guy on the ground. Another color guy yelling to him, well, get up, man, go into the... And the guy can't, I can't. And the guy is saying he can't breathe. He can't breathe, he can't breathe. Oh, he can't breathe. Have you noticed a similarity here? They got you wearing these masks. The authority is oppressing the general population with a fraudulent act, saying that we got wave 2, stage 2, stage 3, exit stage right. We are going, and now we're going to do this, and and every time we open up a mall, every time we open up a restaurant, every time we open up something, every time we open up, F that. Just F that. Okay, you can fill in the F part. These are fraud. Fauci, whatever that little Italian alien thing is that's up there in the medical thing. He does this thing with 60 Minutes and says these masks do nothing. They stop nothing. They don't do anything. Then people are saying they're seeing him wearing a mask. What a fraud. What a fraud. Every parliamentarian in Canada, I'm talking to Canadians now, because Canadians need to really get their head out of their ass. I'm serious. You got to get your head out of your ass, quit smelling your own shit, and start paying attention here. We're going to lose the country. We're not just going to lose our rights, we're going to lose the country. Okay, that's where it's at. Every parliamentarian, from the prime minister right down to the premiers of the provinces and the parliaments of the provinces, are in on this. They're in on this. And the only ones making money on this fraud are them. Probably got paid off by the pharmaceutical industry or by the corporations or whoever, the labs or whatever, and to get the respective governments to do whatever. Now in Orange County, we saw a lawyer try to, and she won, saying that they showed no proof. And you know what? There is no proof. No proof of COVID whatsoever. Zero. Nada. Okay, this is all happy horse hockey. It's all bullshit, all of it. The idea that we have to wear a mask, they are trying to enslave us, oppress us, and to keep us quiet. That's what this is all about. And the reason why they're getting away with it in Canada, I'm going to talk about Canada, not about America. You know, America's got its own shit going on, and they got women who got more balls than we do up here. I got to tell you that. They got their testosterone up. I had one woman, I got her up there. She's from Florida, and she is telling the people in Florida that you can't hide behind the fraud, you can't hide behind the mask, and you will pay. And you know, to God, God will rectify this. And you know what she said? This was really interesting. These hypocritical bastards will come right out and pray to God that God would guide them, and yet turn around and create this fraud and this lie and this deception, thinking that they're honoring God. What a load of bullshit. Period. Every one of them should be charged for murder. This is murder. Okay? This is causing high levels of mutations occurring in your bodies wearing these frickin' masks. I'm going to show you how to get around that tonight. Okay? You've got to quit wearing the mask. F the mask. Throw that effing thing away. I'm just going to speak to you salt of the earth tonight. Can't handle salt of the earth? Go find yourself the Disney Channel. I don't care. That's simple. I don't care. Throw away the mask. Get a visor. Put the visor on. With the visor, you can breathe. With the visor, you're not being exposed to formaldehyde, hydrogen cyanide, slimicide, butane, ethylene. Now I'm going to show you something tonight, how they're screwing you, how they're just basically got it so far up your backside they got your lips moving. That's how deep it's in you. And some of you might think this is crude, but you know what? This is what it's going to take to wake your asses up. In Canada, for shame, in Canada, that we allow these crooked bastards to have we should just say no and go about our day. Take our chances. We're going to die one day. We are all going to die one day. We are all going to see the Almighty one day. He is going to clock our time card one day. And then we will stand before him. And how are we going to answer the Almighty, may I ask? How are we going to answer to him? Are we going to give him the excuse, well, God, we're just listening to the authorities? Or are we going to tell him, God, we tried to do the right thing, but no matter what we did, we failed? Because the rest of the country didn't wake up and decide to fight. We have marches going on all over Canada all the time. The problem is the media we have here in this country is a biased, bigoted, prejudicial media that we have here. Okay, so there's even rumors that the media may be controlled from international, somewhere else on the planet. Internationally owned. In other words, we have no control even over our media. They will only allow what needs to be said, how it's going to be said, the way they want it to be said. There is no truth in the media anyway. Okay. Any of you are still believing the television and the news, the Canadian news, the CBC? Are you kidding me? Whatever cannabis you're smoking or whatever brandy you're injecting, you might want to share that with me. These bastards don't know how to tell a lie. They're actors. They should win an Oscar. They should win an Emmy. Whatever the hell we got for a Canadian award. They should win that too because they do a great job in lying. They never tell the truth. And the little tidbit truth that they might somehow squirt out of their backside, you know what I mean, because they got a little diarrhea or something that they squirt out, oh, there's some truth. It's on something of insignificance. Oh, a fireman rescued a cat up in the tree today. Bravo for our law enforcement. That's about the only truth you're going to get. You'll never hear two sides of an argument. Ever. It's whatever the media dictates, it's whatever the international owners decide. That's what we are going to hear in Canada. And you know what? This is called brainwashing. Brainwashing. Okay? We as Canadians need to take a stand for what is right. I know it can be scary at times because we're stepping out of our comfort zone. But I'm going to tell you something. As long as we stay quiet, as long as we act like we're 5-year-olds going to a elementary school and need somebody to hold us by the hand, to take us to the washroom so that we can piss in the stall or in the toilet and then wipe our backside for us because we're incapable of doing this. As long as we have that mindset that we are incapable of doing our own thing and taking care of our own needs, the government will keep on shitting on you. That's the way it is. That's how it is. Some of you might say, well, isn't that a little harsh, a little bit crass? Have you been paying attention to what's been going on in this country? How every premier is writing laws and without any discretion? Ontario just passed a budget, and in that budget we can't sue them. Really? So now they can basically screw you every which way but loose, and now you can't take them to court? And who owns the courts by any chance? Who owns the courts? Can we actually go to court and sue the doctors, the head administrators in the regions for fraud? They should be, and they should be stripped of their license, their bank accounts, and serve hard time. If their families suffer, oh well, c'est la vie. They were going to do that to everybody else. Just this time they got caught. How about the premiers in this country? How about them? How about them as far as, again, dealing with the fraud that they're dealing with? Can they be sued? Should we be able to sue them for fraud like this? Shutting down the province of Ontario for some make-believe pathogen is such a horrendous crime. It's unbelievable. And those masks, what do you think those masks are doing? Those of you who are actually wearing these masks and you don't take them off and you're driving in your cars, you're riding your bicycles, you're running outside, jogging away, what do you think these masks are doing to you? They're causing high levels of mutations in your brain, in your mouth, in your throat, in your esophagus, in your thyroid. in your lymphatic. Now, and this gets better. Oh, this gets better. You have no idea how good this is going to get. Ooh, Lordy, it's going to get good. You know, I've been talking about nanoparticles for quite some time. Brian 396 has been talking for quite some time. And apparently people are starting to pay attention now, because now they're having the outbreaks now, and the older ones are paying attention, because now it's hitting a lot of the older people. You younger people haven't got hit with it yet. It's okay. Keep playing with your effing cell phones. Keep playing with your little iPads. Keep playing with your little toys. Guess what? This thing is going to bite you in your ass so hard, it's going to rip it right off of you. The pain you're going to feel is going to be immeasurable. Immeasurable. You got to go to your little doctor, and your doctor goes, "Doctor, this really hurts. What am I going to do?" Oh, doctor's going to give you a pill. Pill ain't going to work either. Then you're going to have to find somebody who understands what nanotechnology, nanobiology, and nanomutations are all about. Guess what? In this country, there's only two of us that are that advanced. Ryan 396 and myself in this country. Matter of fact, might be more prevalent in almost anywhere else. If you go to a doctor, the doctors are 30 years behind on nanopoisoning. 30 years. The data's all there. They have known since 1960 that the air quality and the air pollution was the #1 killer in North America, causing almost every health condition that you could imagine. Guess what? We're in 2020. 2020, perfect vision, right? The perfect vision. For who, I don't know. So many of you can't see your backside from a hole in the ground. But in 2020, guess what? The #1 killer is still the air. Because the air is loaded with nanoparticulates that can access any form of biology: DNA, RNA, genetics, genes, chromosomes, tissue, cells, mitochondria. And the list goes on and on. But there was something interesting I found out today doing the last research. It's called Aerotech. When you get a gaseous or a fume or something that is aerosoled, and you breathe that in, those nano aerosols, will now find other nanoparticles which are bigger, which will then attach themselves to those particles, further causing more assemblage. Now, somebody sent me something interesting today. Remember, I told you 5 months ago, and I said 5 months ago, that the coronavirus wasn't even a real virus. It was a synthetic biology. And I had an illustration and a picture indicating that it was a nanofullerene going from bottom up in its construction with quantum dots enveloped in a protein. Well, somebody sent me something today, and it's in the links. You can look at it. It's really interesting that the coronavirus... the coronavirus now releases tentacles inside. Here, let me read it. Coronavirus makes infected cells sprout sinister tentacles to quickly travel inside a body, new study claims. And when you see the picture of this, you will see the quantum dots and the bots assembled with the fullerenes building a network. Well, what do you know? So what happens when you wear a mask? You wear a mask. You got nano programming going on into your body, and you're wearing a mask. Now you're breathing out nitrogen, and the nitrogen now produces a fume, a chemical, a gas. Ooh. And now you're releasing more nano gas inside the body, which is now finding these fullerenes and attaching themselves to that. So now they become part of the construct that's going on in your system. Ho. This is murder. This is frickin' murder. All the way around. This should alarm every Canadian from pillar to post left to right, top to bottom. This is murder. This is a planicide murder going on right now with this. And when you see this, for those of you who don't understand what you'll be seeing here, what you'll be seeing is a fullerene network, enclosed with biofilm. The biofilm has wrapped itself up around the fullerenes, and what you're seeing with those little yellow, blue, green things are actual bots that are being transferred to the network so that they can further spread the assemblage and the networking between the networks. That's what's doing it. I have pulled this kind of stuff out of my skin. Deep embedded down, deep, deep, deep. And the only reason I was able to pull it out is because I was able to disengage the program. So when anybody tells you that you can use certain things to pull this out, if you do not disengage this program, that's bullshit. End of story. I don't care what anybody's trying to sell you on this. I don't care what anybody's trying to give you on this. If they're seeing something coming out, they're just removing some biofilm. That's it. They're not shutting down the program. The networking continues to expand, and the morphology of the stuff will change and adapt to whatever they're doing. So after about the third or fourth attempt, they will see an adaptation. Now, what they will also see, some of them, is initially they will see some relief. We saw this in the beginning. 10, 12 years ago, we saw the same thing. We tried something. We thought we were on top of something. We had it made, and then about a week, 2 weeks later, all of a sudden it came back with a vengeance. And a lot of you will see the same thing. A lot of you will see the same thing. And if you haven't had the privilege yet of being activated, don't worry. Be happy. Your time is coming. And I'm being positive. They will eventually get whoever they want to get. They got to get rid of some of the older people first because we still have a brain. You millennials, they'll save you for last. Maybe not. Who knows? It all depends on how much DNA they need, and yours is fresh and young. Hell, they may harvest a bunch of you. Who's going to miss you? What have you contributed? What have you done other than talk on the phone? You won't be missed. Not at all. You'll be eating your little tofu, and you'll be talking on the phone, and you'll be going into being transgenetic, or you'll go into this whole bi, gay, whatever thing that's going on. You'll think this is all normal. This is all normal biology. You think you have a predisposition to this kind of shit, and it ain't a predisposition. This is an experiment that they've done to these people. This was done on purpose to create these anomalies today. And then they introduced this as normal. This ain't normal. Got news for you. This is not normal. These people have been violated on a genetic level. And guess what? They got a whole generation of you thinking along those lines. You're the easiest picked of the people that they can use right now to take out or to use any way they see fit. That's how dumb most of you millennials are. Now, in all fairness, I have had the privilege of some millennials calling me up and saying, cut us a little slack. Not all of us are just stupid. And I have actually talked to a lot of you millennials, and I am impressed and I'm talking about the awakened ones now. I'm not talking about the general population, because the general population are really effed up. I mean, effed up bad. But there are a handful that I have talked with. I am really impressed with their heightened awareness and their involvement. So there are some out there, but for the most part, you're going to be harvested. You're going to be culled. And for those of you who are older, just because I'm picking on the millennials and saying that they're just right picking, so are you. Okay, we were programmed. We were programmed, and we were distracted, and we were deceived, and we were maneuvered. Okay, so we have to deprogram ourselves from all the bullshit that we have been downloaded. All the television that we saw, all the radio, we listened to rock and roll and this and that. That was all part of the MK Ultra. All part of it. Game shows that we watched would program us on how to think. Dramas that we were watching were programming us how to feel, how to respond. We are all responding to bad programming. All of us. And it has affected every one of us. That's why I say, we got to cut each other a little slack when we react sometimes, because sometimes why we're reacting the way we're reacting is because of what the television taught us. And I think, seriously, that should be thrown in a pyre, a funeral pyre. That should be burned. That is the worst weapon of mass destruction ever created on mankind. The worst. So when you see this nano assemblage, they're calling the corona boogeyman virus. Ooh. And the mask aren't going to do a frickin' anything with this. This, what you're seeing, this picture, is on an atomic level. In other words, it's smaller than that mask you're wearing. It'll go right through it. It'll go right through it. There's those masks are selling with the copper and the zinc and the silver. This is such bullshit. It's unbelievable. Because when you're breathing, the nitrogen coming from your breath and the carbon will start breaking down those particulates, and they will get loose in that material, and you will breathe that stuff in. And once you breathe it in, it'll translocate directly to your brain. To the brain. And as long as you keep buying these masks, you're going to keep the Parliament happy. You're going to keep the Congress happy. You're going to keep the House of Representatives happy. You're going to keep the President happy. You're going to keep the Prime Minister happy. You're going to keep all these people that have invested big money into these peripherals, if you will. Don't allow yourself the luxury of ignorance. My people perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of wisdom. That's biblical, baby. And that's the truth. We're being slaughtered here, and we're being railroaded into this mark of the beast system. And if you're going to and I'll tell you this, if you're discompliant to doing something this ridiculous, they got you. They got you. So I say, well, what are we going to do? I don't know how to live. I don't know any way else to live. Learn. Learn. The number one thing all of us should be learning is autonomy. John F. Kennedy made a speech years ago, and I think it was one of the worst speeches he ever made. Don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Talk about a mind screw job. Talk about a mind screw job or mind effery. Okay, he got everybody in servitude without anybody thinking about it. That was the worst speech he ever made. We should have been all thinking in terms of autonomy. That's what the founding fathers that came from Europe to here were all about, being autonomous, self-governed and autonomous. Not surrendering our rights to every parliamentarian that writes laws and changes laws at the drop of a pen. These premiers need to be taken to court and need to be sued badly, and reparations should be made to the province by these premiers. If they can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that COVID is actually existing, especially when in the temperature zones that have exceeded 80 degrees Fahrenheit, about 27 Celsius or 26 Celsius, if they can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is existing in this heat, then they need to rescind all orders regarding a mask. All of them. And they owe the general population one hell of an apology. And that should be done by the end of the workday on Monday. They cannot prove it. And these doctors are whispering in the premier's ear about wearing masks. They too should be sued, stripped of their licenses, and served hard time, and made to reparations for the communities they have served, causing untold grief unnecessarily. We have been dealing with nano poisoning forever, since the 60s, for sure. Some mention that it's even gone back past in the 30s and 40s. And that's a possibility, because that's when they started chemtrailing back in the 1940s. And if they were manufacturing things back in the 30s and 20s, which they were, a lot of nanoparticles were also being released in the manufacturing process, which you'll also read. We no longer have the luxury of thinking that the government is going to take care of you. Shit. That's got to be the most retarded thing ever to believe. Oh, the government's going to take care of me. They're going to take away your bank accounts. They're going to take away your pensions. They're going to take away, I heard there's going to be some sort of bank shutdown coming on in Ontario in the next week or so. You might want to pull your money out just to make sure you can keep your money. We are no longer in this reality where the governments have any ethics whatsoever. None. And them releasing this kind of thing into the atmosphere, are you kidding me? This kind of sophistication was released by a lab, by a military industrial complex, by a university or some sort of pharmaceutical lab. Maybe Bill Gates released it. Who knows? Chances are he probably had some involvement with this. They want everybody chipped because the elite are scared of you. The elite are afraid of you, believe it or not, because anybody can go to them and take them out of their kingdom, can knock them right out, come up with a better idea, market really good, make enough money, and guess what? Bill Gates has got one of the shittiest software companies ever made. Microsoft. What a dud. What a dud. Never worked right from the moment he built it. And he stole the code. What's this guy say about this man? Stole the code, used that code to make all kinds of money, and never gave a dime to the guy he stole it from. What's that say about his ethics? Silly Billy is a crook. Silly Billy is a schnook. Silly Billy knows how to steal. Silly Billy knows what he took. And now he wants to take away from you your freedom. He wants to put you in a program. Some of you might think it's a good idea. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't know how to live. Maybe you don't know what it's like to be free. Maybe you don't understand the nature of freedom. Maybe you're taking for granted some of the things that you have today, like running water and hydro and gas, natural gas, heating your homes. The idea that you can go back and forth and go to and fro without being harassed by the law. The fact that you had, at one point in time, a government that couldn't just write things and do things. I mean, they were doing it anyway on some level, but they were restrained. Now, binders are off. Like I said, everybody needs to start, especially us in Canada. We don't have, we just do not have the luxury here. We need to inform everybody we know. And we need to get them to shake the cobwebs out of their head. We ain't going to have a country. Tell me something. What happens when they take away your pensions? What happens when they take away your disabilities? What happens when they take away the monies that you're making, that you're living off now, off the government? What happens when that's all gone? Where are you going to live? What happens when this $2,000 a month subsidy disappears in September? What happens? What are you going to do? What happens when the food supply, the food chain that we have going on in Canada right now, we shouldn't be suffering any food losses in this country, or the United States for that matter. But what happens? But they have killed cattle, and they've killed poultry, and they've dumped milk, and they've dumped eggs. So what's going to happen in September, October, when stage 2 is full on, and you're so busy being, distracted with stage 2 or phase 2, whatever they want to call it? Well, you're looking at phase 2. You're noticing that the food supply in the grocery store isn't there anymore. What are you going to do then? Let's see, you got no subsidy coming in. You may lose your pension. You may lose any other disability money coming in, and no food. Wow. Is the government going to take care of you? Who's going to take care of you then? And those of you who are young millennials, and you don't have a job, you don't have an enterprise, you don't have a business, you're not doing anything, you're just walking around, talking on the cell phone, doing stupid, goofy things, selfies or whatever, being programmed by artificial intelligence. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? no food, no money. Where are you going to live? How are you going to live? Are you going to prostitute yourself in order to get a crumb, a slice of bread? Is that how you're going to live? Are you going to bend over and grab your ankles when somebody gives it to you so you can, go buy your drugs? Is that what you're going to do? Is that how you want to live? I got to paint this pictorial, because everyone's got this illusionary pie in the sky thing. As a young woman, are you going to be out there, giving somebody an oral satisfaction in order for you to have a meal? Is this how you want to live? Is this where you want to live? You want to still believe some pie in the sky bullshit, and these realities are right around the corner. And you're going to say, and this is what some of you are going to say, well, the government will take care of me. Really? Keep telling you, go look at the natives. Go see how they took care of them. You will be a whore on a street corner trying to find enough business, if you will, to find a piece of bread. That's where this is going. Is that what you want? Is that how you want to live? It ain't a lot of fun. And those environments are extremely violent. If you by some chance happen to have a slice of bread, and somebody sees you eating that bread, they may come along and fight you for a crumb. That's the reality of that life. Seen that kind of ghetto. Been in that kind of ghetto. That what you want? Is that how you want to live? You better pay attention. We're going to lose this country if we don't. I'm saying this tonight, and some of you might say, well, this is too heavy for me. I can't handle this. You know what? If you can't handle what I'm saying, wait till the boom drops on you then. Then what are you going to do? Oh, I know. You'll probably jump out of a building. You may put a bullet in your head. You may jump in front of a car. Is that going to be your solution? Because you can't handle what I'm saying. Perhaps getting this message now might get you active to be prepared to what's coming down the pipe. It is going to go that way. It's already that way in a lot of major cities throughout Canada and the United States. The one thing the Prime Minister did say, he said that Canada was not immune to this. The racial stresses that the United States have, we have them here too. We're just more polite about it. We don't show them on television. We don't show the racial stresses going on in this country like they do in the States, where they have Negroes and they have bankers and we have politicians and we have all kinds of hierarchies there. And again, it has nothing to do with a black and white issue here. See, the Negroes need to understand something about Caucasians or about lighter-skinned people. Most light-skinned people are working class. They never owned a slave. They never wanted a slave. In fact, they had their own problems to deal with. The ones that have enslaved you, the ones that have put the leash on you, are your bankers. Okay? And the banks are colorless. They're an institution and an organization, and they can destroy anybody they want to. When we're looking at what's going on in America, the same shit's going on in Canada. If you're poor, if you're ethnic, if you're native, and again, it doesn't matter what color you are in this country, if you ain't got something, the banks will control you. The corporations will control you. These are the taskmasters. These are the enslavers. It's not white corporate America. It's not black corporate America. It's corporate America that is enslaving you. And you now have people at the top who are Asian, people at the top who are Negro, people at the top that are East Indian, people at the top that are African, people at the top that are Caribbean, people at the top that are from the Baltic region. You have people at the top that are European. You have people at the top that are American. of all shades and tones. You have people at the top that are Canadian that are all shades and tones. You have people at the top that are from Central America and South America. So now who's suppressing you? Who's got the tether around your throat? Is it white? Is it a white man that's got this? When we got all the rainbow working? I shouldn't say rainbow because somebody may interpret that as something weird. Well, we have a full spectrum of races and ethnicities that are at the top working for these corporations or banks. That's who's suppressing you. And they're suppressing everybody else too. I've yet to see in my whole life that I've lived here in North America, Canada, and the United States, I have never met anyone that owned a slave. Never. I've grown up in ghettos. I've been a minority in a ghetto where all my friends were colored. And I never saw anybody owning a slave there of any color. Nobody, everybody, like I said, used the N-word in that neighborhood because the context of that word didn't mean the color or race of a person. It meant that we were all slaves. Every one of us were slaves. And we knew that the corporation, and we knew this back then, that the corporations were enslaving us. We weren't fighting with each other, trying to kill each other over our skin tone. But somehow that's been lost. Somehow that's been put aside. And I'm saying this so that we can avoid further future conflicts that the media is presenting. See, they hit it hard, boy, I'll tell you. It took me a while to catch on, but that whole thing about Floyd, and the knee on him and the three officers not doing anything. Like, why didn't the three... In any scenario, if an officer did this, number one, they would have done it not in the open public. They would have done that in an alleyway somewhere, number one. They're not going to display that they have this kind of hostility and violence that they put on the general population. That would have been done in an alley or out in the back 40 or out in the countryside somewhere. They would put a bullet in his head and it would have been done with it. But when you see the other three guys not even making an attempt to get the guy off his neck, then it dawned on me that was a collusion going on, and that was a representation of what they wanted to do. The corporations, the banks, the corporocracies, or the fascist systems that we have now basically said that they're now controlling you. They have now subjected you, subdued you, and have silenced you. This is what that was all about. Had nothing to do with a police officer who was of a lighter skin tone killing a civilian that was a darker skin tone. That was a theatric, if you will, to indicate that that's what they were going to do. They were going to oppress the authorities. The authorities. That's how you got to start thinking. The authorities were going to oppress the general population. And that's what they did. You got your mask yet? Are you putting it on? Are you now being quiet everywhere you go? You've been seen and not heard. Congratulations. All these decades that we've been fighting for freedoms, fighting for liberty, fighting for justice, fighting to be more democratic has just went out the door with the snap of a finger. Oh, you're going to die of COVID. Oh, COVID. Oh, the numbers are up. Oh, we opened up a mall in Florida. Oh, my gosh, the numbers jumped up 5 bazillion, gazillion. Oh, my. Oh, and they're all dying. Have you ever been to a hospital? Nobody's there. And if they're dying, according to the one nurse, it's because the doctors are killing them with the ventilators. Imagine that. And then if we do have this synthetic biology that they was, somehow have picked up on, and it's growing this network in them, and they're saying, well, they're surviving. Well, guess what? Another probably 6 months, they'll be back into doctors. And then they'll say, oh, the numbers are gone. The third wave is here. Oh, my gosh, the third wave. Oh, the fourth wave. Oh, the fifth wave. Oh, my. You can go drive out in the countryside. Oh, the sixth wave is here. Oh, the numbers have jumped up. Now everybody going to the countryside, the numbers have gone up, and they've gone up, and they've gone up. When are you going to catch on? They're never going to let you go. They're just giving you a little toy, a little tidbit, a little crumb. And the moment they give you that little crumb, you just when you start thinking, oh, it's going right back to normal again, yay! They shut you down. They shut you down. This is the authority oppressing you. And like I said, it has nothing to do with color. This has to do with power. Power. And like I said, they've got multiple different type of people, different rankings, of different colors, different ethnicities, different cultures, different religious systems or belief systems that are in power. Like I said, I never owned a slave. Never wanted one. Don't want one. Don't need one. I'm happy living my own life, my own autonomous way until they, until they try to further oppress me. In fact, some of my best friends are friends of color. We talk all the time about this bullshit. I actually talked to a friend of mine who's from the Caribbean. I said, did you ever have these problems growing up in the Caribbean? He said, no. And he's the dark-skinned one. I always say the difference between me and him is we both have island heritage, but he's left-handed and I'm right-handed. Wait till he hears this. He's going to call me up. He'll express his opinion. Some of my best friends are of color, or ethnic, and some of my best friends are of different ideologies and belief systems. We share a commonality. We all want the truth. I don't judge anybody. I've learned a long time ago that we'll all come to the truth that we need to know sooner or later. We can influence each other to look at things, but that's about it. It's up to each and every one of us to determine for our own selves what is and what isn't for us. That's what being autonomous means, that you can determine for yourself without being forced. Influence, we all can be influenced. I read certain things and people show me stuff, and I look at some of the stuff they show me and say, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I've been influenced by them to see something that now has given me insight that I didn't have before. But now I've decided whether or not to accept that. That's the difference. There are times when we need to be rigid. And I'll tell you when those times are. Those times we need to be rigid is when we are being violated and they're trying to corrupt us. And at that point, we need to say no. And if you are of a belief system, I'm of a biblical belief, okay, then if those of us who believe in the biblical truths, we need to take a stand for the biblical truths and interpret the Bible correctly. And we need to understand that in order to apply the biblical truths, you just stand on those things. Don't just pray. Paul said prayer without works is dead. And I heard people tell me they don't listen to Paul. Part of the New Testament, and even the Bible says if you take something from his word and you add something to his word, God kind of frowns on that. I don't do anything. I sometimes tease a little bit with the Bible, but I also say it's found in my book, not in the Bible. But faith without works is dead. You can pray to God all you want to. Sometimes God may listen. Sometimes God may say, well, okay, you've been praying. I'm going to have you do what Moses did. I want you to go and deliver those people. I want you to get those people out of there. Then you got to act. If you don't act, things can go pretty rough with you. Ask me how I know. We need to understand that the assault is coming from nanobiology, nano mutations, nanobiotech. This is all nano. And when you read, now tonight I put a bunch of stuff on the PDFs up there, and when you see this and you see that link that I'm showing you, you can see the connection how metals, microbials, nano integrate and change, mutate and form a whole different paradigm in a program. All of a sudden, all of a sudden now you have something completely different than what you started out with. They have stated in the research that I've seen in the past that we've got so many nanoparticles up in the atmosphere that they have chemically mixed. As a result of the chemical mixes, now we don't have a clue what's up there anymore. And we have had bacteria from the earth now leave the earth and gone airborne because the density of the particulates have reached ground level. These mutations are going to be the cause of health issues for all of us in the future. Those of you who are awake and are millennial, let me give you a heads up. Start studying the nanobiology, nanotechnology, nanomutations, okay, synthetic biology, XNA, PNA, LNA, CNA, all the nucleic acids that they're using today, because in the not too distant future, all the health issues you are all going to suffer, provided we're still here and provided we ain't dead or wiped out by some pathology that they decided they're going to release on us, because now they want to release the real deal, because the fake one didn't do jack shit and nobody bought it. In the future, and that ain't that far away. Let me rephrase it. In the future, that was yesterday. In the future, that was yesterday. Okay, 1980, yesterday. Every health issue that you will be dealing with will be subjected to not only nanopoisoning, but nanoprogramming. And in order to cure, heal, repair, restore, since these words are still in the dictionary, people that will come into your circle, you will first have to disengage that program. If you do not disengage that program, and you treat the symptomologies of the effect of being poisoned by some form of nucleic acid in combination with nanoprogramming and nanobiology, then all you're going to be doing is spinning your wheels. And eventually, the person that has been assaulted will perish. This has to be disengaged. If you do not disengage the program, you can't fully remove it out of the body, because it will change, alter, or develop a whole new system of defense. You're talking, and I'm talking about things that are working on a cellular, programmable level. And this is atomic level. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Every sickness that we have today has nothing to do with being alkaline, has nothing to do with being acidic. That's pure bullshit. Because nanotechnology, nanobiology, nanomutations can thrive in either realm. Acidic, alkaline, or neutral. Doesn't matter. Most of the metals that we're being exposed to coming down from the sky are base metals. In other words, they're alkaline metals. And when they hit our bodies immediately go into an acidic state to neutralize those alkalis that we are being absorbed, that we're being assaulted with. And same thing with what you're eating. Somebody's saying, well, I'm eating salads. Why are you eating salads when the salad, whether it be kale, chard, lettuce, cabbage, you look under a scope, they're completely saturated. Now, some people tell me all the time, well, we're going to die anyways. Yeah, we are going to die, but why make it painful? I've had people tell me that, they told me I was full of bullshit and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they went on their way and kept on eating whatever. About a year later, they noticed some things had happened. They decided to stop what they were doing, contacted me and said, you were right. I'm having these lesions. I'm having these rashes. I'm having these marks showing up on my skin. And just because you have nano poisoning doesn't mean will always manifest on the surface. It will eventually. But a lot of times it's internal. And a lot of times you may see a bottom-up, top-down assembly. So if you're seeing a top-down assembly, you're going to see this grow on the skin. If you're seeing a bottom-up assembly, you may not see that right away. You will see it eventually, but not right away. I'm pointing this out to you because nobody is going to talk to you about this. You will go to your doctors. You will go to these alternative gurus. They're going to tell you you need to be more alkaline. One woman wrote me and said this guru told her to do all this crap. And I said, he doesn't know what he's doing. First and foremost, he doesn't know what he's dealing with. And secondly, the diets that they're giving people are the wrong diets to begin with. It's like I said, the retardation that I see in this industry is staggering. And when you're reading your products, always read the other ingredients. If you see titanium dioxide, zinc in there, what the hell is it? Zinc oxide. If you're seeing any other metal in there, nano iodine, nano copper, nano magnesium, nano calcium. You see any of that in there, don't use it. That will get in the system, and the proteins will chelate it or drive it in deeper. Read. I can't emphasize this enough. The first part of this message is a heavy-duty message. If you can't handle it, don't worry about it. You know, when the boom hits, you'll deal with that then, I'm sure. You know, we are at war. And the sooner you figure that out, the sooner we can all work together at either forming a more perfect union or perhaps even breaking away. If we can't change the situation that we have right now, then perhaps it's time for a new situation, a better system, an organization, you know, a better community, one that will work with each other, and where authority should not be on one man. Premiers, prime ministers, and presidents, I think, have outlived their day, to be quite honest with you. I think we need a council, if you will, a council of men and women of all different representations. Not if you're a Democrat or a Republican or a conservative or a liberal. What I mean by multiple representations, we have women on the council. We have people who are ethnic on the council. We have people of different color on the council. We have people of different cultures on the council that represent the council, or the village, town, or city, or province, or state. That's what I think we need to have how we need to be represented, because saying someone is a conservative or a conservative or a Democrat, you know, or Republican and a conservative, what is that really saying? They're part of a club, and because they got money, they're in that club, and the Democrats and the liberals who don't have money are in that club. Is that what we're doing? You know, I mean, they're both millionaires, and they're both controlled by the banks. So that isn't working anymore. The premier of Ontario has no idea what's going on in Windsor. He doesn't care. He's in Toronto. He's in Queen's Park. He doesn't give a shit about Windsor. But we had a real council here, not a liberal council or a conservative council, but a real council here of different people that represent communities in this city. Then things could be worked out, because the perspective and perceptions that are going on, everybody would see pretty much that we're of the same ilk, and that we need to work together to keep everything solid, not broken up like they're doing, like these guys are doing. But that's probably more altruistic than anything else. But anyway, you get the point. We're no longer in a realm today that we were 60, 70, 80 years ago. We're not in that realm. I'll tell you what realm we're in today. We're in the realm right now of being, like I said, led to a cliff, led to an abyss, so that we can jump in. We can jump in and be sacrificed to a god called Baal. Imagine that. Baal or Moloch, whatever they're called. Imagine that. Imagine that. And anybody who is a believer, a biblical believer, or a believer and understands the nature of what I'm talking about, then everybody knows that this is not the way to go. Nor is it the situation that we should be aspiring for. In fact, we should be walking away from it. Just a thought. All right, on my site tonight, there's going to be a lot of data. Read it. Look at the link that with the corona and the tentacles. That could happen. You got biology, you got nanometal, you got nanoprogramming, you got nano smart dust in there, you got quantum dots, all communicating with each other to create the assembly required to further cause high levels of mutations or infections in the body. Keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind. Alrighty, I'm always talking about supporting the people that I know are telling the truth to the best of their ability. There's about 3 or 4 people on my site on that page. Share and help them any way you can. If you don't have money, no big deal. Share the links, share their data, share everybody's data. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I can't remember anything. There was something else I wanted to say, and I can't remember now what it was. But anyway, I always remember to tell you to, because I've given you such a heavy, hard message tonight, I always try to also inspire some kind of hope. And for a lot of you will never get caught up. It's just not going to happen. You've got too many things going that are keeping you from doing what you got to do. And I get that. I do. You might want to read the Gospels. I keep pointing to that fact. Read the Gospels. They can be inspiring. They can give you hope. They can increase your faith. And again, there's no arm twisting here. Read them, understand them to the best of your ability. If you don't understand them, ask God to help you. I always tell God, I don't speak Godese. Help me with the Bible. Read it. Probably the best literature you've ever read for some of you. And understand this. If you read all these other books and you really are not getting anywhere, perhaps you might want to read this one. I'm not saying it's going to make you rich. I'm not going to make any promises it's going to do anything other than enlighten you in areas that you may not be aware of. That I can tell you. All right. So anyway, I'm going to let it go. So until the next segment, to your health, we will see you soon. Take care.